In this session, I want to talk about how in coaching we help lock in the change. Look, sadly, behavior change never happens overnight. It's got to be constantly reinforced. And studies have shown that it can take, from 66 days to a whole year to lock in new behavior. And it doesn't just naturally happen because the way the neurosynapses work and, we've got pathways which naturally take us to old ways of doing things. So change will dissipate if it's not constantly reinforced. So how can I help make it happen? The first thing is we've got to have locked in that very powerful purpose, vision, that's aligned to our identity, our values, our North Star. So we're constantly being reminded of what we want to get to. And then one thing we've got to do, we've got to look at the ecology. We've got to look at the environment, the people we are in. And we've basically got to think about what is in those, in the ecology that helps make us do the new behavior and what stops us doing the new behavior. So maybe we got to, for the time being, avoid this person, spend more time with that person, avoid that environment and be more in that environment. Because what we've got to do is we've got to sort of set ourselves up for success in that space. And we're talking about habits. We know that habits often have a trigger point. And then we have the unconscious behavior that follows it. Then there's a reward system. So we look at it, we've got to make sure we're getting the right triggers and we're not being triggered in the wrong way. And sometimes some people can trigger us in certain ways. Sometimes environments can trigger us. So how do we be in the right environments that trigger the right response? And then actually we've then got to think about what is that sort of the reward system, what's going on in that space, to make sure that we are, ending up, thinking that was the right thing to have done. And that's where often we can talk about what happened in that event and we can reflect upon and think about how do we do that stuff better. So linking into that is this idea, how do we attach pain to the old habits and pleasure to the new habits? And that we can do through process of visualization and other sort of techniques as well. I draw quite a lot from my NLP training in that. And then the last thing is obviously just support that we as the coach can give. Will be that constant reminder to help encourage you to be there, and will be help holding you to your promises and helping you get through the tough times. So it requires that constantness, and that's why, when people just buy, coaching for 6 sessions, that's great. I don't deny it's going to help, but reality is you probably need a much longer time frame to really lock this stuff in.